Hello vinyl collectors. Today I thought I would show a few albums from the late 50s, early 60s, or like the oldies stuff. And we'll start off with a group originally out of Toronto, Canada, the Diamonds. Here's their first album. The Diamonds went to New York City and went on the Arthur Guthrie talent show and tied for first place. And as a result, they got 1 week on the show where they got discovered. They originally signed with, I think it's Coral Records, where they put out some singles, and then eventually they got signed by, I think it was on the Mercury label, and there they did a few albums. Interesting here, Little Darling, which was #2 on the Billboard, and you think, oh great, Little Darling's on this LP, I think I'll buy it. It's not on the LP, just using it to promote the group. This one here, the Diamonds with Pete Rugolo, I think I'm pronouncing it properly. This one is really more real sort of like vocal, not very rock and roll-y, sort of like a doo-wop, really focusing on vocal harmonies. Not one of my favorites. The individual there, Pete Rugolo, if I'm pronouncing it properly, was a composer, arranger, and a music producer who did a lot of work in television during the 50s and 60s, as well as producing a lot of records for contemporary artists at the time. The big album by these guys would be this one right here. And this one came out around 58, 59, I'm guessing. And I think this is more like a compilation of some of their singles that had come out earlier. And of course on this one is The Stroll, and Little Darling is on it as well. Of course The Stroll is very well known. It was in the American Graffiti movie. The next group I'll show is the Beaumarks. They're out of the Montreal area, Montreal, Canada. They sort of formed around 1958. This particular one here, I think Flying High Flying, is 1960. These guys are more rock and roll than the Diamonds. If you're more into a rock and roll type, this is definitely a good one to go with. Of course, Clap Your Hands is on this one. Well-known tune, but done by many people. Pretty good album here. The other one I had by them is just called The Beaumarks, which is 1962. Again, the same thing. Pretty much like early rock and roll as they transitioned from a doo-wop sound to rock and roll. With a little bit of R&B sort of mixed in with it. Very good album. Individual that was originally from Arkansas moved to Ontario, Canada around 1958 and stayed for the rest of his life. Ronnie Hawkins. We have Ronnie Hawkins and the Hawks. Hawks was his band, which left him a few years later and became The Band, which is a well-known group. So this one here, Ronnie Hawkins, I think is 1959. Released. Very good. Rock and roll, R&B. Mr. Dynamo, Ronnie Hawkins and the Hawks. And this is around 1960. Again, sort of rock and roll, R&B. Very good album. Just grabbed a few at random from the time, and this is when I pulled this. I'll show you this is the River Kings Doing the Bird. Okay, this is around 1962. This was originally, I think this is the group's only album. They had put out some singles, and it wasn't a huge success, the singles. But they have there's a couple songs on here, like, and I can't pronounce it as well, like Papa Mau Mau Wow, Mama Mau Mau, which is just syllables being pronounced in part of the song. And like Doing the Bird was quite popular there in 1962 or so. And so just to show you this group, the Trashmen, Surfing Bird. This came out a lot of people said, geez, this sounds familiar. Yeah, it sounds a lot like the Rivingtons doing The Bird. Sure enough, they went to court, and the Trashmen lost. So here, Surfing Bird is credited to I think the drummer of the band at the time, but in later issues they had to give credit to the Rivingtons and I guess the original writer. There is, if you listen to them side by side, there is a bit of an overlap there. The group everybody knows, the Drifters on the Atlantic label, Save the Last Dance for Me. Under the Boardwalk was their other great big hit. Not sure if Benny King is on this album or not. I think he is under the Boardwalk one. The thing with this group is that it was like a revolving door for individuals who were members of the group. People just constantly coming and going. They did some pretty good stuff though. The Drifters, I think this is 1962 roughly for this one. An album that everybody knows. Eddie Cochran. This is on the Liberty label. This is like the memorial album that after he was killed in the car crash in the UK. I believe in that car crash Gene Vincent was also in the car and was not hurt. And there was also a lady in the car who at the time was possibly his girlfriend or possibly a fiancée. But that young lady eventually would become the producer of the Shing Bing series. That would be very popular on TV around 1965. So this is a classic here. Come On Everybody, Summertime Blues. Great album. Definitely worth picking up. I have seen copies online of the original Liberty pressing. Never seen it in a while. Seen it online. Goes for way too much money. Could never afford it. These next few here I just wanted to show. These are, when we have other genres of music like psychedelic and surf and that, you always have that exploitation records. And this is sort of like it in a way here, some of this stuff. And I'll show a few here. Most of the stuff is from 57 to 59. I think this is the oldest one, 1957. And what this is here is more of a compilation here. The Teenagers, Cleftones, Heartbeats. But just packaging a lot of doo-wop music out. This would have been like teen music around 1957. Of course, this sound would soon die out once by now you've got people like Little Richard and Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley, Jerry Lee Lewis all doing the hard rock and roll. So doo-wop is soon to die out. There's another one here. Rock and roll. This is Columbia Harmony label. They actually have a name for the band, the Blazers. I can't find too much about this. I'm guessing around 1958. I think the original price was, this actually has this original shrink on it. It was $1.88 or something at the time. I love the covers on some of these. Another one here. Let's go with this one. This is the Big Ten, Rocky Curtis and the Harmony Flames. This again is on the Harmony Columbia label. I'm kind of thinking this is sort of like almost like an exploitation type album too. I don't know if this is really a legitimate band. It may be. Got this one that was still in the shrink at the place where I got it. Let's see if I can get this off. Here. There, let's see a bit better. I had a couple. This is around 58, 59. And they're doing a lot of covers on here. Kansas City, Teenager in Love. Almost like exploitation, rock and roll and doo-wop. There's another Teenage Party. Sort of like a compilation again. The same guys, the Cleftones, the Valentines, the Crows. Don't know these are. Sort of, again, doo-wop. A little bit rock and rolly. Some of these where there's instrumentals on these albums. The instrumentals are pretty good. Usually the saxophone is the lead instrument, and it is good. There's some very good. The ones with the vocals on it, where they're singing hits, sometimes the vocals is a bit weak, and certainly doesn't pull it off like the original pressings. But there are very good tracks on all of these albums. And the final one I'll show here, same thing, Rock and Roll Party, Modern Records. So I don't know anything about it. This seems to be exploitation almost again. I think this one, 88 cents. This was in the Rip Shrink when I originally got it. Again, very good album. Some vocal stuff. The vocals a bit weak. The instrumentals can be quite strong. So those are some early rock and roll albums from the late 50s, early 60s. As always, thank you for watching and have a great day.